Hi, my name is Paul Sload, and this is my presentation on the NSPE Code of Ethics. First, before we get into the actual codes, I'd like to start off with a hypothetical situation. That is, you are an engineer working on a walkway that is suspended in a public place above a very high ground. There are many things to keep in mind here: the safety of the public, how many people will be walking on it, etc. And you notice a major design flaw with the structure. The supports that are going to be holding it up are threaded all the way through, which you believe would render them useless during construction because they could be scraped and the threads would be useless. So you decide to change them out for supports that are threaded at the ends because you believe that this would be a better alternative. So what would you do given this situation? Most of us would most likely believe that contacting higher-ups would be the best option, get the bridge delayed, and possibly save lives and at the expense of some extra time and money from the higher-ups and your work. However, let's not explore this option. Let's instead explore the option where the group of engineers changes the design without adequate communication towards other interest groups, construction workers, or other groups of engineers. In this situation, this would no longer be hypothetical. This would be the Hyatt Regency walkway collapse of 1981, where the situation is the exact same as described on the previous slides, where the supports were threaded all the way through and the design team decided to change it without adequate communication. To top it off, however, when the bridge was actually constructed, the supports were just barely holding up the mass of the bridge, which, given extra load on top of the bridge, would spell disaster for the whole situation. And that is exactly what happened. The bridge collapsed, killing 100 people and injuring 200 more. Now, this sounds like some sort of breach of code, like the engineer should be held accountable for this type of thing. Why is there no code in place? Well, actually, there is, and that's where the NSPE comes in, the National Society of Professional Engineers, and their Code of Ethics. Founded in 1981, the NSPE came up with a code of ethics to prevent unethical engineering catastrophes. And the code that was violated in the previous situation was Code 1, which states that engineers should hold paramount the safety, health, and well-being of the public. Because the engineers didn't consult higher-ups, in the case of this major design flaw, which ended up causing the bridge to collapse, the engineers were very clearly not holding the well-being of the public in account. Now, even though these codes exist and have most likely helped in many situations, even in there are situations where engineers have followed these code of ethics to the T, but the project still ended up being a disaster. Case in point, the Space Shuttle Challenger explosion. The situation here is that the Space Shuttle Challenger had these O-rings preventing fuel leaking out from the fuel tanks, but they were never tested in cold temperature, and the ship on the launch pad experienced temperatures 20 degrees lower than the forecast had stated, which means the O-rings were in untested territory. The engineers, as such, decided that it would be for the best to not go along with the launch because they knew that most certainly it would end in fuel leakage and cause an explosion. After a heated debate with the higher-ups, they decided that they would still go on with the launch of the space shuttle, and the Challenger ended up exploding, killing all 7 passengers on board. Now, This is, despite the project being a complete failure and costing the lives of 7 people, the engineers did everything they were supposed to in accordance with Code 1 of the NSPE Code of Ethics. They contacted higher-ups in the hopes that they would delay the launch so that the O-rings could be fixed, and trying to hold the safety of the passengers in account. However, the failure did not come from the engineers themselves, it came from the higher-up and management, which just goes to show that while the Code of Ethics have helped most likely in many, many situations, even though they do exist and engineers can follow them, the management could cause the project to be a failure anyway. Thank you.